Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaiaudio.com, and welcome to this first video on the video game sound design fundamentals series that I'm creating. Now the reason I wanted to create this series is because of the importance of fundamentals, and I've been kind of reflecting on this recently and trying to figure out what are the fundamentals of sound design. And the reason for this is because if you look across any industries, if you look at the best, the top performers, the best athletes, the reason that they're the best, or the reason that they are at the top of their game, is because they have mastered their fundamentals of their craft, right? So if you look at something like sports, let's say basketball, why are they the best at what they're doing? Is because they're practicing their fundamentals. They're practicing dribbling every day. They're practicing shooting every day. They're practicing free throws every day. Whatever that may be, they're practicing that every day, and they're mastering those little fundamental skills that they need to become the best of the best. And so and you know, I'm just using basketball as an example, but really you can look at any industry and look at that. If you think about a musician, what makes a great musician a super musician is because they're practicing fundamentals every day, whether that be scales, arpeggios, tuning, intonation, things like that. That is what makes them great. They're practicing that every day, and they're mastering those skills every day. So I've been reflecting on this for sound design, because I want to be able to master these fundamentals as well, knowing that this is what is going to make me a great sound designer, and I want to share that with you guys. And this is what I came up with. You know, I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm the best, or I'm you know, whatever, the best in the world. These are just things that I've noticed, I've learned about, and I want to share with you guys of what I consider the fundamentals of sound design. So this first video is going to be all about layering. So let's jump right in. So for what I have here, layering, there's kind of two ways that I think about layering. One is texture layering, and one is frequency layering. So I'll show kind of both examples in this video. So what we have here, I'll just go through what I created. So I'll show you guys my finished product, and then we'll go through kind of what I've done and how I got here. There you go. So that's the sound I created. Now this is an explosion, and the reason I chose this is just because it's really easy to show textures using this. So let's start from the beginning. So from the beginning, all I wanted to do, what I started with was just creating an explosion sound, and this is the sound I came up with. So the way I came up with that is just an S layer. I just put together a bunch of explosions and got shots together, and then I added some reverb, and that's what I got. So that's what I did there. So I kind of want to show you guys kind of my progression and how texture changes the sound. So that's just the explosion that I came up with, and now let's see what we got here. So here I added some rock slides. So already you can see there's more interest in the sound. We'll go to the next sound. So a bit more subtle. In this one, I added some low-end rumble just to add more, I guess, boom to the sound here. We'll go on to the next one. Again, more impacts, more. Here I added some brick debris and some rock impacts, just to add more texture and character to the sound. And you can already tell like the difference from this first sound that I created here all the way to this from this first one here to where I'm already at. It's already so much different. So let's keep it going. So here I added this really low boom explosion sound, which sounds like this. And that's just an impact sound that I added. I put on trash, which is just a distortion. So I put a lot of distortion, some delay, and I put some EQ just to boost up the low end around 100. And then I added spectre, which is again more distortion. This one's a bit more subtle, and it's actually I'm not sure how to explain this one. It's a frequency distortion where it affects all the upper partials of the sound as well. So that's what I did there. So again, now we're looking at something that's completely different. So maybe that's not, maybe whatever you're designing, you don't need something as complex as this. Maybe this first original sound is better. Again, depends what you're working on. And now here where we're at, we're already adding so many more layers and textures to the explosion that make it much more interesting. So what I did here is I added an extra layer of ambience, and I'll play it for you guys right here. And if you listen to the sound, it just adds an extra feel, and it elongates that kind of explosion sound. So let's listen to it without it. And it kind of ends abruptly. And now with the ambience here. It's just much more of a smoother cutoff, and it really adds to the mood of the impact that you're creating. And the way I created this sound is just by using Joni, which is a free ensemble reactor ensemble, sorry. And yeah, just put in some audio files that I had in here, pushed down some keys, and that's basically how it came out. So I really didn't do too much with that. And then with my final sound here, I just added some more impacts, crumbling, rocks, and things like that, just to make it that much more interesting. Right, so this is one way to layer your sounds. This is one way of doing layering when you're doing sound design. You're just adding textures, yeah, and by what I mean by textures, of course, is you're adding different. You're not using the same sound source. You're using different sound sources. They're doing different things. So, for example, the original sound I had up here, that's just an impact sound. There's nothing else happening in that sound. But once you're adding, rock slides and rock debris and brick debris and ice debris and things like that, then those are all doing different things. They're adding extra textures and different elements to convey a different feel to the sound. Same thing with the ambience. The ambience is elongating the sound. It's adding to the darkness of the impact. And same thing with the low boom that I added here. Right? So I kind of, I purposely delayed that low boom so that it wouldn't be lined up with the original impact. So it adds more intensity to the sound. So you hear the original impact and then you hear the low boom after. Right? So it's all these kind of different textures. They're different pitches. They're different, and they're different materials. And that's what I mean by different textures. All right, and now I want to share with you guys a different way of layering, or to think about layering, which is using frequency layering, which all I mean by that is that you're layering different frequencies on top of each other to build a sound. So, for example, you might have, which I'll show you guys here, you'll have something like a low kick, which will be like your bass sound. You'll have something like a high punchy something kind of impact sound because I'm creating a gun sound. So that would be your top end of the frequency, and then you might have a mid sound to fill out the body of the sound. So let's just hear what I'm starting with. Right, this is kind of what I came up with. So the way I did this is that I just found like a kick sound sample that I had. Right, so that would be my boomy low end. And then I'm kind of thinking of doing a sci-fi gun. That's why I came up with this. Right, so that'd be kind of the laser part of it. And then this is the high. Right, so as you can hear in this high frequency samples here, it's just a really high pitch punch sound. There's not really much low end, so there's not any kind of body to that sound. So by itself, I mean, it's okay, but it wouldn't really stand well on its own. You can really add much more definition by adding a low end kick. And then, of course, to add that sci-fi feel, I added the synth. Now together like that, it sounds okay. What I did here, though, is I started balancing them together. So again, kind of similar. I really took down the bass and the kick so that it wouldn't be too much in your face. But I mean, that's kind of preference or based on whatever your project needs are. And then here, what I did is I added some extra texture. So here I added some metal texture, which sounds like this. Right, so that just really to help that gun to feel like it's a gun sound. So it's just basically a metal rubbing together. And I wasn't a big fan of this kind of synth laser, so I kind of just ended up staying with this. And that was my gun sound, which sounds like this, which is a decent sound. But then what I did is you can put it kind of into a sampler. So here I have just Groove Agent just because it's in Cubase, but really can do this in any sampler, and then you just pitch it around and then see what sounds good. So right? So there's a lot of variation you can come up with and think about. So these are the two kind of layering processes that I do. These are two ways that I think about layering whenever I'm doing sound design. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully that you guys find that useful. And the next time you do a sound design, yeah, think about that. Think about whenever you're creating sounds that you're layering frequencies together, and then you can also layer texture together. And then of course you can combine both to create, an even better sound. So hopefully you guys find that useful. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Where we will be going into part 2 of the video game sound design fundamental series. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.